Hey guys, today I want to talk to you a little bit about reference checks, okay? As someone that has personally done hundreds of reference checks, I want to share with you about four lessons that I've learned that you don't want to make the mistakes of when you do your reference checks or when you give names for reference checks. You want to actually have a strategy around it. So the first thing is that you want to not put references on your resume. I don't even care if you put references available upon request. It's wasted space. It doesn't matter. I know you're going to have references. I'm going to assume you're going to have references. And if you don't have references, you better get some. And they better be professional. So the first thing is don't put on your resume. Next, don't pick someone who can't validate your work. Often, reference checks will be an HR department. It won't even be a name. Give me someone that can validate the quality of work you've done. They can validate how much effort you put into your work, your time and consideration, the attention to detail. That's the kind of reference check I want. I typically want someone senior as well. So don't give me your peer from a different department who never saw your work and just knew you were a fun person to hang out with at lunch. Okay? So, what have we talked? It's not on your resume. Make sure it's someone that can validate your work and actually can attest to the quality of work you had. Hopefully someone senior to you. Next, make sure that when you do a reference, that when you're setting up your reference checks, you call your references in advance and you say, hey, I would like to use you as a reference. Is that okay? Get permission, and then also encourage them to answer their phone when they get phone calls from unknown sources. Okay, people like me, we're typically going to call you or email you in advance and then set up the reference check. But if we don't, it'd be really nice to know that I could call 3 or 4 references from 2 to 3 in the afternoon and knock them all out versus having to leave a message, waiting for a call back. And again, we're all busy, but by you calling your reference check, you're going to find out their schedule or they're traveling or they're not the right reference to have. It's such a no-brainer, but just make sure you actually call your references in advance, get their permission, and make sure that you find out what their schedules are. So when you send the recruiter or send whoever those names and numbers, you can let them know, hey, they're available on this time or this date. It just shows what kind of person you are. And then the last thing, personality matters, okay? I believe this is probably something no one's really thought of. If you have 3 references and they're all alpha dominating personalities, that probably does less for you than you think. Now, maybe they're all the same kind of position, and typically that position is groomed by a certain personality, so it makes sense that those are the kind of people that you have on your reference checks. But I think that if you could show on your reference checks that you've worked for someone that was really aggressive and you were successful, and also that someone that was pretty passive and you were successful, and also someone that was a combination of both those personalities or a different personality and you were successful, it shows a lot more about you than having 3 aggressive alpha personalities that I do a reference check on, because maybe my company is a little more sensitive and we're not quite that way. And if all of a sudden I call 3 people for your references and they're all the same personality, which doesn't exist in my company, I might have second thoughts that you can actually survive in our company because you don't understand the culture of our company, or the cultures you came from are very different than our cultures. And if I'm very attuned to the cultures of my company, I might recommend we don't move forward with you if I'm not sure you're going to be a fit, because I'd much rather pass on a good candidate than hire the wrong candidate and have to backfill that candidate months later. So what did we learn? The 4 things. You don't put your references on a resume. You make sure that you can put people who are senior to you, and for the most part, that can validate your work and quality of work. 3, you call your references in advance, prepare them, get their schedules, and send that information on to who's going to be calling these references. And the last thing is try, if you can, to have a diversity of personalities on that phone, so it's not just the same type of person over and over and over again. And that's going to help show what kind of person you are and what kind of people you're able to be successful with. I hope that helped. As always, share this with anybody you think might be going through a time right now where they're looking for a job. Follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, Hired How to Get the Job, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Hired How to Get the Job. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.